Hello everyone. Is the Super Best about to be Nikki in the bank? Randy isn't the only one doing the teaching, and Johnny is, well, you'll see. I'm Casualeann. Come with me. Kevin Patrick begins segment 1 by introducing both he and R-Truth. Truth is angry that he did not announce him as the former 24/7 champion. Again, not letting it go. Apparently, Instagram has seen more of Akira Tozawa than we have on the shows. He's running around with different posts with the 24/7 championship in tow. Now, Kevin Patrick once again vows to help Truth regain it. 24 hours following Hell in a Cell, Xavier Woods and WWE Champion Bobby Lashley fight inside Hell in a Cell. 24 hours after Hell in a Cell, they fight in Hell in a Cell. Early in Raw, the first portion of it actually, we find that Kofi is going to challenge Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank on July 18th. Now this makes very little sense whatsoever because Bobby just defeated Drew McIntyre and Drew himself defeated Kofi. Why on earth would Kofi get a title shot? But here we are. Truth notes that the beating that Bobby Lashley took proved that he really was the champion they needed. And at the end of Raw, Xavier Woods was put into the Hurt Lock with Kofi like outside the cell, like screaming at Lashley to let Woods go. I assume as a way of kind of intensifying the feud with, very few weeks to go before Money in the Bank. When asked about Kofi's state of mind, Truth says that Kofi is ready to get it in. He already wanted the WWE title, but the assault on Xavier Woods brought it to another level. They run down some of the qualifiers for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and kind of a compilation. It's a night of upsets, like people you wouldn't think would actually win, overcoming some of those, like, I guess, larger upper tier competitors. Rhea is going to face Charlotte again at Money in the Bank. This is the third match of this current iteration of the feud. The NXT stuff last year, all of that aside, just this current iteration, this is at least the third match. Oh my goodness, when is this feud gonna end? Truth asks Kevin Patrick who his pick between Rhea and Charlotte at Money in the Bank is going to be. And importantly, he does not hesitate. He said, it's hard to go against Charlotte. Is one of the final vestiges of the perception of the impartial journalist fading away? We'll see next week when he's right back to saying he can't speculate because he's an impartial journalist. Anyway, the guests for the evening are announced. They are Morrison with The Miz, Riddle, and Nikki Cross. Super Best Iron Woman, Nikki Cross. After a commercial break, the first guest segment is with Riddle. This is segment 2. He qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match with an upset over Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre. He comes bearing gifts. He has more merch, a mug, and a t-shirt with a stallion and a viper superimposed. Kevin Patrick asks, how did you get it done against Drew? And he says that he didn't need help to beat Drew McIntyre by himself. He answers that the match from Hell in a Cell really impacted Drew, his match against Bobby Lashley. And all the while, he was chilling, playing video games, resting up. And Truth, kind of answers like, okay, you were just picking up the pieces. He's got a plan, it would seem, or at least some ideas as to how things might go later on. Now, he suggests that maybe Rkbro might challenge for the tag team titles, or they might go for Money in the Bank together. But Kevin Patrick notes kind of this tension between them, or Randy Orton being highly upset at Riddle. And he asks him, like, what happened with Randy? And Riddle just kind of plays it off. He's like, oh, he was just in one of his moods. And to handle Randy, you have to be able to deal with the best and the worst. When that happens, when that worst happens, he asks him to close his eyes. And he asks him what he sees. And when he says nothing, Riddle says, that's the world without you. So earthy. He says that Randy just needs to compress. In a relationship like this, some weeks are good, some are bad. Riddle's like the Viper Whisperer. He says it's only gonna get better from here. So there was something a little weird with the audio, but mostly it was good. Riddle continues to further the progression of Rkbro through storytelling, which is the companion to the matches. It's all quite nice. We see how crazy Riddle can be in the ring and what caliber of matches he has once that switch, that in-ring switch turns on. But then when it comes to Randy, he's like this childlike character who helps Randy with his anger, while Randy kind of helps him with his verbal diarrhea. And even without Randy being on Raw Talk itself, I think Riddle does a lot for the team by appearing in these kind of kayfabe interview segments. We get a commercial break, and segment 3 is with John Morrison and The Miz. They are celebrating his win over Randy Orton, the night of upsets. He's still talking up Johnny being potentially Mr. Money in the Bank, or the future Mr. Money in the Bank, or Mr. Moisty in the Bank. They're toting dripsticks, and Truth says they can't have water on the set, this is PG. Kevin Patrick asks about the Miz partnership, and Johnny responds with how fortunate he is. Who better than the Miz to have in strategy? With regard to strategy, they're asked what the plan actually is. And KP, he reminds all of us that they all had something going on. Now, in this segment, there's a lot of crosstalk. There would literally be crosstalk in a closed caption version of this segment because everyone was just talking over everyone. Somewhere along the way, Miz is asked when he's going to be back in the ring, and he says he's not sure when he will return, but he's still around despite the fact that he's injured. Johnny is advised to watch his back now, having defeated Randy. Miz says he's tricking out his wheelchair, or he plans on tricking out his wheelchair like Mario Kart with like smoke and an oil slick. John Morrison says, speaking of smoking, Truth knows about it, and Truth's like, okay, it's time for them to go. I agree. R-Truth, it is time for them to go because this was an absolute mess of a segment. Oh my goodness. The questions were barely heard, barely answered, and there is something gross about this now slightly older guy with like all of the like sexual innuendo. Ugh. I love John Morrison as a wrestler. He can still do so much and his moveset is so dope, but the new gimmick, ugh. I like that The Miz is still playing kind of the annoying heel role, and it's almost been amplified by him not walking around anymore. It's almost as if he's working harder to be seen and to be even more irritating. But just, this whole segment was a sopping mess. So following the final commercial break, we have segment 4 with the super best Iron Woman, Nikki Cross. No, that's not what she calls herself. That's what I'm gonna call her. She's back. I'm glad, obviously. It's pointed out to her that she returned to tagging with Alexa on this past episode of Raw. And honestly, the characters are so different now, like with Alexa essentially being the female version of the Fiend and Nikki Cross being this kind of everyday superhero gimmick. They're so different. I'd completely forgotten that they used to be partners. Nikki adroitly kind of separates herself from like the partnership, Nikki Cross with Alexa. She says that they've been on different paths, but the point tonight was to qualify for Money in the Bank. And now that they've achieved that, it's every woman for herself. I wonder if that's intimating something maybe later on that might happen with the women's Money in the Bank match, or if it was just kind of a throw-off comment. I don't know. But she says she will be Nikki in the Bank. She always comes up with so many great new nicknames. I love this one as well. She shows off her new royal blue ring gear, which of course I'll have in the screenshot. I love the color. Didn't exactly get the butterfly thing. When I think of butterflies, I automatically think of like something that's somewhat tender with a very short lifespan. So I don't know why you would make that the focus of a superhero character. Maybe it's something about spreading wings. I don't know. It reminded me of the Hurricane, which was also one of my favorite characters back in the day. She realizes that she doesn't actually have superpowers, so she's not delusional. But when she dons this outfit, she can try anything. She has to believe in herself, and that's the best that anyone can do. And that's the kind of sentiment that she wants to share with the universe. Very inspirational. They ask if she brought gifts like Morrison and Riddle. You know, Morrison had the dripstick and Riddle has the merch. And she squeezes out, me! Her presence is our gift. How apropos. She stands and Truth spins her around in the chair. Almost like she's an action figure, you know, in a rotating display case or a dessert in a diner. And that's it. That's the end of the show. I am such a fan of her appearance a few weeks ago, like Super Best Nikki Cross. And the idea of the Iron Woman, that I had to come down a little bit to like the comedic superhero with the butterfly thing. I'm glad that she's getting some attention, of course, but it's quite cartoony when she could have been more like the spunky butt kicker, like almost like a Becky Lynch light or something like that. But she's good. She's been off TV for so long, you know, I'll take what I can get for now. For our must-watch segment, either Riddle or Nikki are good ones to watch depending on what character or story you want to hear more about. They're both of decent quality. You can get more context on Nikki's new gimmick if you watch hers, or you can hear more about the evolving dynamic with Rkbro. My rating for the week is 3 out of 5. There were more moments that were good with this show as opposed to whole sections. So Riddle as the Randy Whisperer, that sort of mini story. Nikki's empowerment of the superhero costume. The 24/7 champion Akira Tozawa being more an Instagram model in his reign than an actual comedic champion. These were high points in an otherwise just okay show. That was Raw Talk from June 21st. What do you think about Nikki's gimmick? What about the night of upsets? Have they painted themselves into a corner with kind of all of these mid-carders overtaking people you would expect to win? Or is WWE becoming poised to launch a bunch of new stars? Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That is how my channel grows and gets recommended to others, so it helps when you do. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.